Hello and welcome to another episode of the last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network show. This is like the flagship, I call this the flagship show of the network, even though we'll only have like 10 episodes. What I love about this podcast, the last of the Action Heroes Podcast, is we have rotating guest hosts come on, or other hosts from the other shows will come on, and we talk about movies that aren't Rocky, that aren't Rambo, that aren't the mainstays, the Arnolds, the Bruces. These are all the not necessarily bottom of the barrel, but they're the lesser known or lesser seen films. However, Doug is my co-host. No grand introduction needed, but Doug, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Thanks for having me on for this wonderful 80s action film.
This is fantastic. I'm really looking forward to having this discussion. And having it with you it's just so easy podcasting with you, Doug. You're an absolute treat. Yeah, it's just easy. You're a great podcaster, and why don't you just tell the good listeners the podcasts that you are the star of?
Well, I appreciate those kind words. And I am the host of Rocky Minute, which is a podcast that I'm sure at this point all of our listeners have heard of. I go through the Rocky movies 1 minute at a time. And we analyze each episode, analyzes 1 minute of the film. Yeah, we're making our way through the Rocky films slowly but surely. And for this one, Brian, I have the distinct feeling that you wanted me on just so you can ask me a whole bunch of police questions.
Well, it's funny. When I asked you to, and for the record, we asked Craig to join us too. So Craig was unable to join us for this recording. But yeah, definitely watching this again for the first time in quite some time. Above the Law, of course, Steven Seagal's Above the Law. We'll get to it. I hadn't seen it in quite a while, and I'd forgotten just how much cop stuff is. So, Doug, before we get into it, I have to ask you, yes, Doug, have you ever stepped or crossed that line to above the law? Have you ever acted above the law in your profession now? Remember, no one listens to this show, so you can speak freely.
Yeah. No, I think when if you're a member of a big city police department, you're one of, I don't know, thousands, tens of thousands of officers in the city, and I think a few of these bad guys can slip between the cracks. But in a department, I'm a member of a small 60-something man department, so you can't step outside of your job that often because your crimes will be far more magnified.
Or you can operate like you guys did in Copland. You are small little units. So you're all in it on. It's either one of you. It's either everyone or no one has to be in on the crime. Right. Yeah. Okay. So your unit's clean. Your unit's clean.
Yes. I could only speak for myself. I have always been an honest police officer.
You know what? I believe you. I actually really
I appreciate that.
No, of course. You're one of the good ones. Okay.
One of the few.
No. Hey, defund the police. Down with the cops.
Yeah.
You're all just a bunch of murderers. Okay.
It all depends on which news channel you watch.
Oh, please. Yeah. Murderers killing murderers, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. So, I'm just joking. Okay.
No.
This is a fascinating film. Now, before we get into this, people are going to say, well, Ryan, what are you guys doing? You already had the old 90s film guys cover Steven Seagal. They did a great job, but they only covered the decade of the 90s. So we have a podcast feed on the Last of the Action Heroes podcast run by Scott Murphy, and he's our New Zealand guy. He does 90s films, so that's all they cover. So if it's Stallone, Arnold, Bruce Willis, Kurt Russell, it's a really cool little thing they're doing. It's just the 90s, which is an interesting decade because the 80s were really quite big for a lot of these action guys. So they're covering just 90s films. So it's, to their word, I give them full credit. They started with Seagal's second film. Like, they weren't able, by their own mantra, to do their podcast. They couldn't cover Above the Law. So we're going to take that on because I believe this network deserves a proper response, reaction, and talking about Steven Seagal's debut film, Above the Law. Now, we did have on this network a Steven Seagal podcast that ran for a little bit, and they did cover it. You can't find it anymore because this individual took himself off the feed. He ran away from the network, and it was an absolute garbage podcast to begin with. So what
if he still listens?
Then change the way you podcast.
You're doing him a service by.
No, he did us a service by leaving the network. We didn't ask him to leave. He left at his own volition because people were talking about vaccinations. Like, come on. if he's still listening, bless your heart, wish you all the best. But you left because people were anti-vax or whatever, and whatever host was, and they couldn't be around that. So if he still listens, it's kind of weird to still listen and not be part of the network. But anyways, it wasn't a very good podcast. They did a really, I think, not a great job. Now, we're not going to do much better. So if you're listening, hey, I'm not saying I'm going to do much better. I'm going to try. We love action films. Seeing this film, Doug, it's frustrating because it's actually a good film. And it's a debut film for Seagal, but it's also a fascinating film because how in the world did this happen? Do you have any idea? Like, who is Seagal? Like, you know, who's that guy that did The Room, the movie The Room?
Wiseau, Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah. Seagal's a Tommy Wiseau of action films. Came out of nowhere. He's a producer, screenwriter, story writer. Sorry, he's 36 years old in this film, by the way.
He got a late start.
Yeah, so he gets a late start. So he comes in here his mid-30s out of the blue. How did this happen? And he has a producer credit? Don't you have to have money to be a producer?
I was actually shocked. I knew somewhere that I knew that this was his debut film, but after watching it, I had to go back and look at it and really double check and say, was this in fact his first feature film? And yes, it was. I don't know. I mean, I guess he got some notoriety in the business. Not even notoriety, but like I guess he got his name out there from displaying his martial arts to the studio somehow, somewhere. It was like all a big setup.
So apparently, producer or agent Michael Ovitz believed that Michael Ovitz himself believed that he could make anyone a movie star. So his idea was, I can make anyone a movie star. And to prove it, there is a guy that I learned Aikido from. His name is Steven Seagal. I learned Aikido from this guy. And I'm going to make this guy a star. So this is almost like what would you call it? Like a self-bet that he can make anyone into a star. So that's the genesis of how Seagal ended up in this film. If reports are to be true, that Agent Michael Ovitz got Seagal. So I guess Ovitz had enough pull that he says, hey, guys, let's make a film around this. So if that is the case, and that might just be the story because there's no indication that Seagal would have any kind of pull in the industry. Now, he did do stunt work on previous films like James Bond. I don't know if you caught any of that. He broke Sean Connery's wrist.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I did see that. Amazing. Well, the fact is, at least this early part of his career, I mean, he can act. I thought, being a first timer, coming in with the confidence and like that quiet smolder that only he has, I thought he nailed it. I love this movie. I always have. When you realize how goofy he became to be in real life.
Well, that's what's depressing about this film. Watching this film.
Yeah.
It's like looking at your wife when she's hot in high school. You know what I mean?
Right. Looking back on what could have been, wondering what happened.
What happened? No, but I jest, but there's a little bit of that. What happened? Like, what did happen? Now, I think Steven Seagal has always been Tommy Wiseau. That's the thing. He's always been weird. He's always been a little bit different. He's always been odd. So there's something to this guy's history and his life that I find very fascinating. He was born like in Michigan. He went to California, and then he was just a normal high school kid. But then he literally met this Japanese guy in California, almost like a Mr. Miyagi type guy. Like, seriously. And it's like, oh, I kind of like the cut of this guy's. This is before The Karate Kid. The Karate Kid could have been Steven's story. He literally met like this Japanese guru guy and gets sucked up into culture. He goes to Japan, marries someone there. He actually married a lady there. There's photos of him online with his Japanese bride. And he's wearing like a Japanese getup and everything, and with his kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's something to all this, and then he comes back to the States. He opens up a dojo. He opens up an Aikido dojo in California, and then Michael Ovitz becomes a pupil at the dojo, and then that's how it started. So maybe he just had money because he owned a couple businesses.
Money talks, that's for sure. And if you're gonna set up business and try to gain the attention of somebody in Hollywood, I guess California is the place to do it. I mean, I'm sure it's just a shitstorm of luck that went his way.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Being
stardom is in some ways.
Yeah, but being as prolific as he is in martial arts, it definitely says something about him. And like the guy can fight, and he can display that in movies. Like that's a great, especially action films, which is what, like, that was huge at this time. It was just like the right place, the right time, and the right circumstances, meeting the right people. I mean, the rest is history. But even with this film, like when what was it, like the studio, he had to demonstrate his martial arts skills for the studio. Yes, he put on this display and he dominated all these students. And this just terrified the executives. What they didn't know at the time was that whole thing was staged.
Okay, so this is fascinating. So keep in mind, this is Seagal's first film. So American audiences are sitting their butts in a seat. They never seen this guy before, ever. Like, can you imagine? You're going to opening weekend, Steven Seagal above the law. You probably saw some trailers. Maybe there's some early buzz. New action star, Steven Seagal. Who knows what the trailers were like back then? Because how do you introduce someone that no one's ever seen before?
Right.
You know, like this guy has never been seen. The world had no idea that they were about to be introduced to Seagal, right? And so Seagal had part story credit, his story by Seagal, produced by Seagal, starring Seagal. So I think the story by is at the very beginning of the film. They use real photos of Seagal as a young kid, and there's some mixture of real life, how did Seagal become Seagal in the film, then also introducing his character to how he became a CIA operative / Chicago police officer later. If you're listening to this on our network, this will be on YouTube, so come to our YouTube channel if you want to see the visuals. But if you're listening to this on iTunes, just you get an idea of what we're talking about here. So here is the beginning of the film. So keep in mind, this is very meta. It's introducing us to the character of Nico that Seagal plays in the film, but it's also introducing American audiences to the mythos, the mystery of Mr. Steven Seagal.
I was born in Palermo, Sicily. Came to this country when I was 7. We immigrated to Chicago. We were always raised to be very patriotic, to love our country, and we did. When I was a little boy, my father took me to a baseball game. They had a martial arts demonstration out there, and I saw this little old Japanese man doing things that I thought were magical, and developed a crazy dream to go to the Far East. And by the time I was 17, I was there, studying with the masters.
Keep in mind, just the same year Bloodsport came out. I believe it was 88.
The same year?
I think so. Now, Van Damme already had a couple bit roles in movies like Black Eagle and a couple other bit parts and what have you.
Yeah.
But however, that same that Asian music overture. So there, so for our audiences that are listening, during that little montage, there was actual photos of Seagal as a young child, high school. Briefly gave his bio before we played the movie. There's a mixture of his character. Now, he wasn't born in Sicily. His character's born in Sicily. He was born, I think, in Michigan or something like that. And then it talks about how when he was 17, he went out east, which he did do. And he did meet an old man. And he did see this old Japanese fighter who thought it was magical. And he wanted to do that. He wanted to fight. Say what you want about Seagal. We'll get to some of his demonstrations later that you talked about. But I suspect 36-year-old Seagal could probably beat you up.
Me? Or
what do you think?
Anybody?
Do you think he could beat you up? You're both 36.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Okay, because you're a big boy. I'm not a big guy. I mean, I'm just
no. No.
He opened an Aikido dojo. So what I'm getting at is before he was Seagal to the public, he was a businessman, operator of dojos and businesses that were successful. I don't think you could do that stuff if you didn't know what you're doing.
No, and I don't think like any bit of his martial arts background is in
dispute.
I wouldn't think that. I mean, the guy did go to Japan and he did study
with
martial arts
with the masters.
With some very very skilled teachers. So I'm not calling into question his abilities. Some of the demonstrations that he gives. Now, I mean, we start off the movie with one here.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's show the scene right now. So he's in a dojo right now. He's got students clapping like Ozzy Osbourne at a rock concert. those guys in business suits? Are they there just to...
I haven't the slightest idea. Is he? So he's still in Japan at this point, right?
It looks like this must be Japan, the way it looks.
Yeah.
So a student has come up to volunteer to be a sacrificial lamb here. Now, Seagal, how tall is he? Like 6'3"?
They say later on in the film, they say 6'4". He's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's a big dude.
He's 6'3", 6'4", slender, strong, and his hands. Look how fast he does move here, though. Like, it's legit.
そうでしょそれで一つになる角度合わせなきゃいけないかかってきて全くこの角度は一緒回して
Now, have you seen his YouTube videos of when he puts on these shows and these guys attack him, he flips them all around?
Yeah, when he's hardly moving. See, those to me, those are put-ons.
You're right. He's not really being attacked.
Yeah.
But is it still showcasing moves? Does that make sense? You know how you can practice your own moves with no opponent? I could argue, I'm not trying to defend Seagal per se. I don't think he's ever said, I am fighting these guys and I can beat them and they have no chance against me. I think he's still showing you what can be done when done properly, maybe? I know it's over-exaggerated with the flips and they land on their backs and stuff. It's like almost like a wrestling match. Like it's exaggerated. But is he still not doing actual moves? I don't know enough about this art form.
If you want to showcase your move, I would like to see it in a one-on-one kind of situation. When you're just moving across a mat and you got guys attacking you from all angles and you just... I don't know how much he's really showcasing. He's doing a block and then a throw, a block and a throw. He's throwing this guy. He's throwing that guy. I don't see much of a skill in those videos. It looks like a choreographed dance.
Sure. Okay. Fair enough. But now what he's doing in this film, again, it's films. So this is, Seagal is actually the choreographer of these fight sequences because you have to for safety. You know,
right.
He can't keep breaking people's wrists like Sean Connery. So,
right.
Now, it still showcases his ability, does it not? As a fighter, because I can't do this. Like if you try to make Ryan fight like Aikido style, I would look stupid. I don't have the movements. There's an actual. What I'm getting at, Seagal actually has a natural, silky grace to his movements. He has a very interesting the way he carries himself. Very like limber. He's long. He's thin here. But I feel like his arms and legs just have this almost like viper-like style to it. What do you think?
Yeah. I agree to that point, but what I'm saying is in the movie, what he's doing here, that's showcasing his skill in this beginning part. But then this part here, when it slows down, now again, all he's doing is a block and he's grabbing the guy by the neck and throwing him. Now he's throwing that guy. He's flipping that guy. Now this is slow motion, so it showcases a little bit more technique, but in those demonstrations, it's very fast paced and it just looks like a dance. In the movie here, I like the fights when some guy talks tough to him and he just comes up to him, dodges a punch or blocks a punch and does like this combination punches to the chest to the head and takes the guy out. Okay, I like it. That showcases skill. That showcases his speed. I don't it's like flowing through the room like water and blocking and tossing a guy. Yeah, you can tell he's got some skill, but you can choreograph this, and maybe you could be taught to do this with enough practice because I don't think it showcases skill as much.
Right. But now again, this is showing the U.S. the world audience, but he's doing this. Seagal. Now keep in mind, this is a combination. This is the first 2 minutes of the film. He's showing you, the audience, what he can do. This is Stallone taking off his shirt moment, okay? Stallone works out. He gets pumped for Rocky IV and Rambo. He's got to have the shirt has to come off. He has to show audiences, look at my physique, guys. I worked hard on this. Fair enough. That's your bread and butter.
Right.
This is what Seagal's doing. He's exposing his talents. To be fair to Seagal, because Bloodsport did come out this time, we still had Chuck Norris. Speaking of which, Andrew Davis. Andrew Davis is kind of an interesting director. He directed this, but he also directed The Fugitive shortly after. And he directed... he was him. This was Andrew Davis, the director of The Fugitive.
That was early 90s or...
Forward, yeah. So 85, though, he directed Chuck Norris's Code of Silence.
Okay.
And that was the film before this one. We got to cover that on this show. Then he did Above the Law, and he did some other stuff. Then he did the Package with Gene Hackman. Then he did Under Siege with Seagal. So now he's done 2 films. He did the debut film with Seagal, and I guess they had a good enough working relationship. They did Seagal's biggest film, really critically and box office. Under Siege was his. With the success of Under Siege doing what it was, producers were like, hey, can you do this kind of stuff with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones for 1993's The Fugitive?
Fugitive is a fantastic movie, by the way.
It is. I think it actually got some Academy Awards and nominations, and then
it was big.
Then he worked with Keanu Reeves in Chain Reaction. He worked with Michael Douglas, Perfect Murder. He worked with Arnold and Collateral Damage. Wow. He then worked with Shia LaBeouf with Holes. And
so he has a pretty prolific career himself.
Yeah. And then he kind of just... Then he did his last big movie was 2006's. Granted, he's 70-something now. So, 16 years ago, he would have been 60-ish. So he maybe just retired. He's 60, kind of like, eh.
You would think he would be more of a household name with some of those credits.
I mean, steady work. None of them have been. Yeah. None of them have been absolute like disaster type films.
Oh yeah.
You could argue Collateral Damage isn't Arnold's best film, but I don't think that film. Actually, it's not a bad film. It's not poorly made. That's Andrew Davis, but this film was only his his 5th film, and it was after this film that I think he kind of got more popular because this film was popular at the box office. The $8 million budget. Made $16 million at the box office, which is pretty good considering it doubled its budget.
Yeah, like you said, I wonder how they marketed this. You remember the early trailers for Rocky? Yeah, people say he resembles so and so, and women love him. Men want to be like him.
Well, for Seagal, it was men want to be him, and a woman, if they don't love him, Seagal will go after them anyways. Oh, you know what? To be fair to Seagal, none of his allegations came during this film. So at this time, it was peak Seagal. Like, he had no allegations. He was clean.
Squeaky clean.
He was squeaky clean. Yeah, this is Seagal introducing himself to the world and to audiences here. He's showcasing, to be fair to Seagal, and I get why he's doing this, little demonstration in the film, because he's demonstrating his stuff to these people, these Japanese business moguls who are here at the dojo. But to us, this is that meta part. He's saying, look at me, I'm not your average American action. Of course, we had Jackie Chan was even around then. Of course, Bruce Lee. There was the Asian stars. But this was the first time Aikido was on film, let alone by a white American. I mean, Chuck Norris, sure. But even already, Seagal fights differently than Chuck does.
I was just thinking about, you said that Bloodsport came out the same year, and Van Damme was able to showcase his skills in a fight setting, in like a tournament setting. This isn't a tournament movie. This is a movie about a cop, a Chicago cop on the streets doing his thing. So he doesn't really get to showcase it too much. So I could see this opening scene is his chance to showcase his skills, because it's really, outside of fighting, the rest of the fights are choreographed, but it's against seemingly unskilled people, so you don't get a really good fight going. So this is his chance.
In 1969, I was invited by a friend of mine to an American embassy party in Tokyo. While I was there, I met some crazy drunk guy named Nelson Fox. He recruited me into the CIA. I was 22 at the time. My eyes were about to be opened.
All right, so he gets recruited by the CIA to the Vietnam conflict. And now we're seeing actual footage here of Vietnam, that terrible burn victim child from the bombs. Real Vietnam footage here. Again, that mixture of real life and the movie, right? These are real events, real footage of the war, the conflict, the protests. Nico is, of course, wrapped up in this. Now as a young... We're going to see Nico here being 22, 23 or 4 years old as a character, but it's 36-year-old Seagal.
Right.
This is a nation of laws, and as Abraham Lincoln has said, No one is above the law, no one is below the law, and we're going to enforce the law.
And Americans should remember that if we're going to have law and order, says Nixon. So there's your President Nixon there, Doug, talking about no one is above the law. Did Nixon ever break any rules?
Let me go back in history, my mind Rolodex, and think.
I love how
the only president to ever resign. Sure.
Yeah, what a funny looking guy he is, eh?
Yeah, he was goofy looking. He was like a cartoon character.
No one is above the law. I love when they do the name title in this. They actually called a couple times the title of this film. A couple times in this film about
once is enough normally.
All right, so this sets up the conflict of the time, and of course showing that Nico is going to be in this wrapped up in this war. And I'd forgotten that it starts off with the Vietnam War. Do you remember that?
When I first put it on, I haven't seen it in years, and no, I totally forgot about this whole Vietnam part.
So the whole setup of the Vietnam part is...
Well, yeah, so he's not an American soldier. He's working for the CIA, and he's an operative in Vietnam in like a intelligence gathering,
right?
Interrogation kind of unit. So he's introduced to these group of guys that are mid-interrogation on these Vietnamese captives.
The main bad guy here, the guy that is in charge, what's his name again? Zogan or something?
Zagon.
So the film opens with them at the Vietnamese-Cambodian border. Nico, played by Seagal, he's disgusted with DCI Kurt Zagon, who tortures prisoners. Of course, Nico can't handle this. The mistreatment of humans, right? This is a military conflict, sure, but we don't torture our prisoners. My understanding is this is all a front for drugs, money and drugs, right? So Zagon he's a drug runner. He's a CIA operative, but isn't he?
He's getting his opium from the folks over here in Vietnam. Honestly, I don't even remember how they're screwing up his works, but during his interrogation, he ends up killing this one guy, and he kind of just passes him off. He's just like, all right, get him out of here, bring in the next one.
Yeah, so Seagal can't handle. Let's hear a little bit of... I love the Seagal character. He does this a lot of his films where he's a man of action and violence. Like, he'll snap your neck in a heartbeat, but he only does it if he has to.
Yeah. He's a moral man.
That's right.
Move it! Let's go. Come on! Get him out of here!
So Nico walks in on this and sees the... So he's about 26 years old here, his character. Keep that in mind. His character's about 26.
So my little doctor bag doesn't scare you.
I'm not scared.
Oh, you speak English. How nice.
Where's the load, Colonel?
So they're asking where the drugs are from this captured Vietnamese colonel. They start beating him up.
I'm going to teach you never to with my opium.
Oh, boy. He's a hard one, Doc.
You took it from the French, you took it from the Chinks, and you'd be damned if a Yankee's gonna start you talking. But you're gonna sing for me. You're gonna sing like a choir.
What does this have to do with military intelligence?
Who the f*** is this Cherry?
Your orders, Toscani, were to assist and observe.
Just back off, partner.
Okay. So the guy that said just back off, partner, that's Nelson Fox. He's the one that recruited him at that National Embassy party, I guess, in 1969. So they've been working together since. So anyways, of course, Nico can't handle this. This is mistreatment of people. He's realizing very quickly these CIA operatives, they're bad news. It's about the drugs. It's not about intel gathering. Why else would he be there, though? It's weird that he's there. What is he to assist to observe? It was his orders.
Well, I guess if he proved himself worthy, that he could be kind of indoctrinated into this unit. You need guys that can follow your footsteps when you go and continue on. So
I guess so.
I guess Nelson vouched for Nico and was a mistake.
So Nico's not having it, and he says, "What's going on here?"
Cute, huh?
Fox, this guy's a...
Shut up, Nico.
Look, I can make you disappear. Grab his leg.
What the hell are you doing, man?
Nico!
Okay.
Nico! You guys think you're soldiers? You're barbarians! Hey, get down! Come on, man! Get out! Take off!
All right. So I love how he punches down Zogan. So Zogan, the main bad guy that he
Zagon.
Sorry.
If you mispronounce it this whole time, it's going to drive me crazy.
It's Zogan, Zolar, whatever. But he puts a knife to Nico's face. I love it. Nico just takes him right out, knocks him right to the floor. I thought that was great because this is the main baddie, but right at the beginning of the film, he knocks him right to the floor. Nelson Fox lets him escape, and off he goes into the woods.
How Fox covers it up and doesn't end up dead himself is a miracle. But whatever happens,
maybe he's tied into the gang more than we think. Because he goes, look, you crazy fool! I'll call a chopper in for us. And I'll cover this, man. He must be in with these guys enough that because they didn't know who Nico was, but they didn't ask who Fox was, right?
Fox is already in with them. Yeah,
I'll cover this, man. Just get the hell out of here. Get up. Come on, move.
Bring him back here.
Okay. Nobody moves. Everybody stay on that damn porch. Stay on that goddamn porch. Go, Nico!
So he didn't cover for himself. He actually
I'm through. I'm finished.
He lets them know, the bad guys, that he let Nico go. But they still keep him around.
Yeah, so he just kind of covered for Nico, just like they said. So now we have a time jump, 1988, so about 16 years later. Was that right? Was it 72 to 88?
That's 16 years.
Yeah, 16 years. So it's funny, he's older in the film than he is in real life, which I thought was interesting. Because he's about 24 at that time in that sequence. And now if it's 16 years later, he'd be what?
40?
Yeah. We're doing the right math?
Yeah.
Huh. But he's only 36 in real life. So, again, one of those rare moments where the character is actually older than the actor.
Yeah.
So we're at a wedding sequence here. And did you remember?
It's a baptism. He's baptizing.
That's right. He's very Catholic, I guess, baptizing his kid with his beautiful. Okay, how hot is Sharon Stone? I mean, come on.
This is tip-top Sharon Stone, man. She is gorgeous.
It's insane how hot she is. And she was hot for many years. I'm going to say she's actually still a very attractive woman. She's 60 now. I think she's close to 60 now. But this is 34 years ago. So she's probably 25, 6, 8 here, whatever it might be. I don't know. So, so Sharon Stone, this was, she hadn't been in anything yet that would be of note. So this was kind of Seagal's introduction to audiences. This was also Sharon Stone's introduction to mass audiences. Okay, so she would have been 30 in this film. She's 30 years old.
Oh, yeah. Because Total Recall was 90, I think.
That's right. So the only films that she was in before this one, a couple 80s films that are nothing. Like, she's not even credited. But then she was in King Solomon's Mines, nothing. And then in Alan Quarterman, The City of Lost Gold, where she played, this was like a back-to-back movies, where she played Jessie Houston. Then she had a bit role or a bigger role in Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol.
She really?
Yeah.
I didn't know she was in one of the police academies.
Then she was in a movie same year, in 87, called Cold Steel. And then finally, this would be her big role. Now, she was in this, Above the Law, in 88, playing Seagal's wife. And then right this same year, she also co-starred with another movie we have to do on this network, Action Jackson with Carl Weathers.
Right.
And then
that's definitely got to be one.
And then a couple other bit roles, but you would argue that after Above the Law, she was then cast as Agent Laurie for Total Recall in 1990.
This is early in her career, so I mean, there wasn't really a peak at this point, but like this is her at her, since it's around the same time. I said this time frame with this and Total Recall is her at her most beautiful.
Oh, and then Basic Instinct in 92, so she's 34 in Basic Instinct.
Yeah, and I don't know. Basic Instinct it's a trash movie. It's a Skinamax kind of thing, and she's sexy as hell in it. But I prefer the way she looks in Total Recall than Basic Instinct.
So Sharon Stone, as you know, she's worked with Michael Douglas. She's worked with Steven Seagal. She's worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And let us not forget, she's also worked with Sly in 1994's The Specialist. Yeah,
when there was more nudity showcased in the shower scene by him than even her.
She's also worked with Gene Hackman and Russell Crowe in The Quick and the Dead, Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci in Casino, Dustin Hoffman in Sphere. She's had an okay career if you want to really break it down. What do you think?
She was kind of a powerhouse in the 90s, I would say. She was killing it, but unfortunately, I think a lot of it was linked to her nudity. Basic Instinct was the thing that launched her for some reason, but the girl can act. I thought she did a great job in this film. I thought she was great in this film. That was another thing that surprised me too, because I knew she was in this film and I knew she played his wife, but I thought she was more of like a bit part. Like I didn't think she had that many lines, but she had some pretty good scenes in this. She definitely can act. It's just sad to see that like her notoriety is linked to, Basic Instinct and that leg spreading scene. And
have you ever paused that scene?
Yeah, and I really
I don't understand. Is there anything there?
Shadow. That's all. Maybe I need glasses.
I don't like. Was it? I don't know. Was it?
No, it wasn't. It was hardwood floors.
Was it?
If that's what you're. I think that's what you were getting at. It wasn't shag carpet.
I didn't know if it was a skin beaver or if it was the pelt. I don't know.
I took a more like low-key approach to that, but by all means.
So, of course, Nico's character is now in the classic, let's walk into a bar and get some information from the locals. Here we go.
Say, man, you seen this girl?
I seen the top of her head.
Yeah, that was his head.
That's good. Did you catch Michael Rooker in this scene?
Holy man, stop this monkey. He's crazy. Where's my piece? He ain't nothing. Take him out. He's crazy. Italian puke. Freeze. Come on, man. Not today, please. Put the gun away.
Yeah, that's, again, that's him showcasing his martial arts. And
Seagal comes in and takes. I love all these guys are huge. Like every one of them, like benches whatever, And this guy here, this bartender guy with that Richard Marx haircut,
mullet. Oh yeah,
he ends up being kind of part of the King henchman type guys. I found that odd.
Yeah.
He was the bartender. He starts yelling at Nico's character or Seagal's character Nico, saying, "You'll never be the man. You'll never be the man." Like, what does that mean? It's the bad guy or the critics yelling at Seagal. Like, this is a very odd, like, what, you know what I mean by that? Yeah. Like, it's a way of showing, like, you'll never be the man there, Seagal. You'll never be the man. Even though you showed all that martial arts stuff. And why is he yelling that at a cop who just beat up a bunch of guys in the bar?
I don't know. I guess because he, Seagal really doesn't have a legitimate purpose to be there and to, like, start asking questions and roughing up his customers. So maybe he thinks he's trying to, like, assert himself, and he's like, you're like, you don't know who I know. You'll never be the man because I know the people that are the man.
Who is he looking for again? Is this his niece?
Yeah.
But what I find interesting, all these guys, of course, are tied to Zogan.
Zagon.
But right now, Nico doesn't know that. It's a small world. Essentially,
yeah.
Zogan was the CI operative in Vietnam who's running drugs, and now his niece is in the drugs, and he's kicking the crap out of this girl's boyfriend, drug dealer. This guy and the bartender are all tied to Zogan.
This guy that's with his niece, he's like the waiter in the...
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're all tied together. It's a small community of drug users. I'm just saying it's interesting that they're all in the same Chicago area.
Yeah, and the bartender is like, he's like high up in the hierarchy somehow.
Yeah. So it's a classic scene here, of course, those who've seen the film and know the film, of just Seagal talking to the kids about drugs and do your homework and stay off the drugs, and he kind of slaps around the pimp to show that these guys are nobody. They're just useless, drug-dealing weaklings. Muscles over drugs, man. And he beats out of this guy an actual shipment that's coming in. And the guy tells the truth that this is a legit drug deal coming in, so Nico's going to use this information for a drug bust coming up. So Nico does stuff above the law. Doug, what are your thoughts on his tapping phones? And is that allowed? Are you guys allowed to tap phones illegally?
I think you just answered that question. First of all, you don't tap phones like by plugging in something into a box. Like you, I don't know about the 80s. Maybe they did that, but everything's electronically done.
Right. Maybe it was the 80s where... We haven't talked about Pam Grier is Seagal's partner in this film, and she's
Yes.
she's going on to be a district attorney. So I love how Seagal, bless his heart, he is one of the hottest actresses ever. Pam Grier is a smoke show in her prime, and he's got her as his partner. And so this guy gets to go to work every day with Pam Grier and goes home and bangs Sharon Stone.
He's got it good. He's got a pretty good life there.
One of the accusations against Seagal was by Jenny McCarthy for Under Siege. I guess you remember the scene in Under Siege where the stripper jumps out of the cake?
No, I don't. Why don't I remember
Siege.
that?
Yeah, she jumps out of the cake. Have you only seen like the edited versions on TV?
I might have actually. That might be.
Oh, my goodness. Might be my friend.
Yeah, I've only seen it maybe like a very small handful of times.
Oh well, I've seen it a few times. Erica Elenick. She jumps out of the cake at that party at the beginning of the film when Gary Busey's dressed up as a woman and they're doing the rock and roll band playing by Tom Lee Jones and harmonica and all that stuff. Anyways, Jenny McCarthy apparently said that Seagal made her undress for the casting call for that scene. It probably happened quite a bit back then. Hey, we needed you for a topless scene. How do you look? Turn around for me type thing. Now, granted, Seagal probably could have just gotten her Playboy pictorial and saved her the trouble of having to do it in front of him, but... We should mention Pam Grier's character. Her name is Jax. That's her nickname. She is on her way out. This is like her last week at work because she's going to go on to be a district attorney. She's taken her law courses and what have you. Is that common in the police force, Doug, for cops to go district attorneys? Does that happen more times or just in TV shows?
I've seen cops that will use their career and go to law school and become lawyers after, but making the leap to district attorney, she wouldn't even be a lawyer at this point if she's a full-time police officer.
She's going to night school.
Yeah, but wouldn't you have to serve some time as a lawyer before you can make the jump to district attorney?
I don't know enough.
Yeah.
So they're at this drug bust, and I love how they're dressed up as workers at this place, and the whole time they have these big earpieces hanging out of their ears, so they totally don't look incognito. And the whole time they're dressed up as these meat packer guys or whatever, factory workers. Their disguises do nothing to stop, halt, or alter the course of actions that happen. They didn't have to be this way. They just had to stay hidden while the drug. They're actually looking more. Being out in the open hiding actually looks worse than if they just were sitting in a car observing or something.
Yeah. I don't think when you're doing like a stakeout or what have you, you're not really getting this close to it. Aren't they just supposed to be gathering information here, or is this the actual?
This is a real sting because we have the Nico's boss is up on the roof. Remember calling the shots in their earpieces?
Yeah.
Now this actor who plays Nico's boss, I forget his name in the film. Well, I don't understand the casting. Did they go, hey, we need somebody who can literally read cue cards? Can we get that guy? listen to his acting.
We got it down pretty good. The guys in the front, we got a couple cars in the back. He held off pretty good. These are the best guys. I handpick each one of them. Jackson, Lucas, Nico, they're all top shelf. They know how to do this. They've done it before. Well,
Doug, just so you know, I've got the best guys on the job here. I handpicked them themselves. Everything will be just fine. We got to give them room to do their job.
And he has like a really heavy Chicago accent too, so they might have done like a local contest, and that was the winner. Win a part in the new film being filmed here. The thing about this chase that killed me was that they hit Nico with the car, and somehow he manages to hold onto the roof.
But the drug guys come as planned, as the boyfriend said they would. So now that Nico is walking out with his white trench coat, this is what I mean. Like none of this mattered. Now he just takes it off like Superman.
Yeah. The FBI, who was also doing their own investigation, kind of prematurely ejaculated here.
Yeah. They jumped too soon, they said.
Yeah. So a big shootout starts. Nico gets involved. They all cap a bunch of people on the other team, and Nico jumps in front of the car. That's one of the bad guys is trying to get away.
If a car came speeding at you, Doug, during a gunfight, would you jump in front of the car?
No. I'm not going to do anything any good if I'm dead. And the way they hit him, like he goes up over the windshield, but still manages to hold onto the roof of the car, like I said.
Well, this is a sequence right here. I'm going to turn the volume on. There's a truck that comes around the corner, and I can't make out what this truck is.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
I swear I hear like ambulance sirens. Listen to it as it rolls over. So it's a truck that comes onto the scene. it gets mixed up in this gunfight, sure, and it flips on itself, but it's like it sounded like an ambulance sound.
Oh my God.
That is horrible ADR. Now, for our listeners, everyone who listened at home who isn't seeing this, again, I got to tell you, come to YouTube so you can see what we're seeing, guys. But if you're not, that siren effect was tied into the truck's activities, correct? If that was a truck, that was from like 1950s ghetto. It had no sirens on it. It looked like a pickup truck with a cab on it. I don't understand what that was. Is this an ambulance? What kind of truck is this?
It's a Chevy.
What is on the back?
It's like a delivery truck, kind of. Maybe the police were using it. Maybe they were going to use it as the paddy wagon where they bring all the guys that they lock up back to headquarters for booking.
But why wouldn't they just get a real ambulance? There's no indication this is an emergency vehicle.
That is bad. That's rough.
Did you catch that on your first time?
No, I don't think I did because I'm sitting here flabbergasted right now. It looks like a food truck, like you would pop open the side.
Yeah, 50% off our Italian wraps there, folks, coming in. Oops.
Oh my God.
We get to see a little bit of gunplay. Here's your scene here. To Seagal's credit, now, that's not him jumping on this part here. That's a stunt double there. But when they cut to the top scene, that's Seagal hanging on the car. No green screen, blue screen right there. Those are good. They make sure you see his face on top of that car. They make sure of that. So this is him showcasing a little bit of stunt work. What do you think of that stunt work with him on the roof?
I didn't notice, but if you were, like you were saying before, if he was doing stunts in the James Bond movies and stuff, then it makes total sense. Why not showcase the guy?
Yeah. Now, granted, this they make it look like it's going faster than it is or whatever. But that's all part of the movie magic. But that's Seagal on top of the roof. And I don't know if he must be buckled in underneath, maybe on his. They must have some sort of
under his jacket, his jacket probably.
But still, good for him. Like I give credit. Like I like it when these actors do this stuff. So they capture these guys. Now, Doug, the classic C4. C4 was so big in the '80s, and wasn't it? What's the deal with C4?
Really was. I don't know, but it was. I think it was in Die Hard when he finds those big blocks of C4 and he sticks those probes into it, detonators or whatever. I thought it was like so cool. I was like, it's like Play-Doh. Like I wanted to play with it, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's made of. I don't know why it's so highly explosive. And I don't know why it was such a big plot device in these friggin' 80s movies.
These are two drug dealers that they did bust. One of them was a Salvadorian drug lord, Tony Silvano. And this is where they find the C4 explosives. So shortly afterwards, that the men that Toscani and Jackson, so that's Nico and his partner Jax, they're released at the request of federal officials. That's where the first red flag comes up. Is like, we arrested these guys. How are they released? Because, they got friends in high places. Okay, so these guys get released because we know Zoltan is in charge of this situation here. What's this guy's name again? Zoltan?
Zagon.
So we see him come back in the film. He's the mastermind behind the bad guys. But listen to Nico and his police cohorts by the guy who cannot act, his boss, tell them, this operation shut down. This is another scene that kind of stuck out to me. It's horrible acting by Nico. You're a bad actor when Seagal's acting is the best part of the scene.
Hey, attention, please. Attention, everyone. Please, guys. Just want to get a few things straightened out over here.
Just leave it up to him.
A few minutes ago, I received a phone call from the First Deputy Superintendent's office. Now, as we all know, possession of these kinds of explosives are a federal offense and fall immediately under the jurisdiction of the federal agencies represented there.
It's almost like they got a real guy who works at the police department. It'd be like your boss who's acting this film. He's horrible. He can't act.
Fumbling over his lines.
I'm going to read his captions right now. I just want to get a few things straightened out, guys. A few minutes ago, I received the call from the First Deputy Superintendent's office. Now, as you all know, possession of these kinds of explosives are a federal offense. And they fall under the jurisdiction of the federal agencies that we got right here next to us. So there you go. I did his part. Now, that was a cold read. That was a cold read of his dialogue. I'm not saying I'm a good actor. I'm not. But I'm just reading with some sort of emotive voice talking to people in my office.
I received a phone call from the First Deputy Superintendent's office. Now, as we all know, possession of these kinds of explosives are a federal offense and fall immediately under the jurisdiction of the federal agencies represented there.
What kind of bullshit is that?
He also said possession of these kind of explosives are a federal offense. It should be is a federal offense. Possession is a federal offense. Not possession are a federal offense. This guy, oh my God, I didn't realize how bad it was. But Jesus.
Now, bless Seagal's heart. Look at that hairline. I don't know how he does it. Guys like him and Sly, I don't know how do they lose their hair, but when they're 70, they have more hair now. How does that happen?
It's magic. It's magic.
What I love about this film, this is as natural as you're going to get Seagal. This is raw, 36-year-old Seagal. He's got the thinning hairline. He's embracing it. The hair is gelled in the back, kind of like a mini mullet in the back. I love it, and you got Pam Grier in the background there. Anyways, it's good stuff. Okay, so here's Seagal mad about this whole situation.
The feds come in, the doors close, nobody hears, smells, or sees anything. And that's no answer. It's no answer as to why the biggest drug dealer in the city is out on the street as free as a bird.
Nico, keep it in your pants, right? These men have a job to do just like we do.
Oh, my goodness. Nico, keep it in your pants, all right? These guys, they have a job to do just like we do. Now, that's a more natural conversation, right?
Oh, my God.
It's no answer as to why the biggest drug dealer in the city is out on the street as free as a bird.
Nico, keep it in your pants, right? These men have a job to do just like we do. Start a game, let them play it.
Okay.
It's amazing.
How did he get promoted in this universe? This guy, hey, we got to meet this guy.
He's a lieutenant.
He's lieutenant.
Oh, my God.
So, obviously, corrupt government. This whole message, I will say, I'll give Seagal credit. This is actually... See, Seagal wrote this. This was his story. So, I think at the end of the day, Seagal actually has something to say in this film. Corrupt people run everything.
Yeah.
Seagal felt that way in 1988. I'll give him a little bit of credit there, regarding the idea that he's not afraid to call it the government, call it officials. What's the storyline between the parish and Zoltan? And
it does get a little convoluted with these refugees here. I have more about the senator's aide that was killed, but that's killed in this church bombing coming up. This priest knows about they have a plot to kill the senator because there's a senator out there that is trying to end all corruption in these federal agents.
He's like a Kennedy type guy. He's an honest government.
Yeah.
He won't be bought out by Zoltan and the gang.
Right. And those guys have a plot to kill that senator. This father, this mullet father, just a really nice curly,
this guy here,
flowing. Look at that. Look at him move. He's running this refugee camp for South American refugees. They're being hidden in the basement of the church to protect them from being thrown out of the country.
Deported?
Deported, yes. Why can't I find that word?
Yeah, if anyone should, it should be Americans.
But I guess his God damn, I can't even. I had it figured out, and now I can't even remember. I knew I should have wrote it down. But how does he know? They were torturing him later on because they want to know if he told anybody about their plot to kill the senator. So he knows about it, but how does he know about it? This guy, the church, is an aide to that senator.
Zagon he tortures the priest with the mullet because he wants to find out if that guy, that priest, has told anyone else about the plan, which is kind of weird. I don't quite know why that would matter. Essentially, they're going to kill the senator. Only a few people know about the murder that's going to happen. So they just want to know, has the priest told anyone else?
Because he said, if you told anybody, we can't kill him. Yeah, because then they're going to.
Why would they just kill him and then kill the senator anyways?
The point of this bomb was that priest was supposed to hold the mass that day.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be the target of this bombing, not the older priest.
Are you surprised that Pam Grier's character didn't die?
Yes. Yeah. I was very surprised.
I'll give them credit because I was like, oh, she's retiring. Oh, she's talking about she's going to be doing this. And we know she's going to come later and get shot or something. And when she did get shot, I thought, oh, there it is. It's so cliche. But the fact that she survived,
I'm wondering if it was intended that way and they ran it and test audiences didn't like it.
So Seagal apprehends one of the sort of corrupt. Is he a corrupt federal agent or not? Is he in on it or not?
I think he's just being told what to do, and
we'll get a little bit of exposition. It might help explain it.
All right, what the hell is it, Toscani? It's you, that's what it is. You keep your goddamn hands off me. You let Salvano walk.
Salvano?
Yeah.
What are you, crazy? What does he have to do with this? That was no cherry bomb. That was C4. I've used that shit. I know what it smells like, and I know what it blows like.
Salvano never came near that C4. It's in federal holding right now. Besides, why would Salvano blow up a church?
I tailed him 2 days ago, and him and one of his goons were in that church, and they weren't taking communion. I saw the woman who planted the bomb, and she was with Salvano's lawyer. Now, I want answers.
You tailed him after I ordered you off?
I want to know where Salvano is.
My orders were to release him, not babysit him. You think you're rough stuff, Toscani. Martial arts hero, chop suey crap. Let me tell you something. You're not bulletproof. You're not even a good cop.
Really?
You sneak around playing your street dick games, and all you come up with is conjecture, wild coincidence, and bullshit.
I want the name of the federal agent who signed for those explosives.
You do your job, I'll do mine.
Bank on it, pal.
Blood Bank on it. Oh, it's a different film.
This federal agent was just doing what he's told, because later on they go to the evidence lockup and they find out that it was Fox.
And in fact, the actor that plays him does a good job. Like, he's actually not a bad. Like, he's other than that one guy that we kept making fun of. Most people here bring in their. Even Sharon Stone, it's a pretty, like, we see her as Sharon Stone, so we think she kind of has a thankless role in this film. She's playing, like, the damsel of distress type wife in this film. But that's not her fault, but she wasn't the Sharon Stone that we know today. This is one of her earlier roles. But she even did a good job. Everyone kind of does a good job in this film. Seagal does a good job. Like, was there any sequence that... why did he be...
I thought he was really good in this. I said it earlier. I thought
did he get into his own head a little bit, maybe? I
mean, you know, he just got weird. I think, I don't know, look at Nicolas Cage.
Yeah,
like
I guess you're
right. He
right.
was normal and became weird. Shia LaBeouf went through a weird phase.
Okay. Do you want to talk
These
about
guys.
this? I want to watch this fight.
Yeah.
Where's that?
Right here, mother.
These four guys pull up in a car. Now, I love how they have a chance to shoot him. They don't. There's a few times in this film where they have a chance to shoot Seagal's character, but they never do. They always want to do hand-to-hands. I love how they give him like the honor of, like, you know, we don't want to just kill you quick. We want to kill you slow, which is very convenient because the FBI agent is correct. He isn't bulletproof. Bullet would kill him.
Hey, relax, man, relax. Hey, I'm not gonna shoot you. These guys are gonna beat you to death. Yeah, you come to our neighborhood with our people, huh? When our people come with you. Túmbale la cabeza, vamos.
He's apprehended a knife. Or machete, which is great.
There you go, some weapons skills.
Showing his weapons skills again. Showing the Americanizes that he can handle bladed weapons as well.
Friggin' sword fight here in the eye.
Okay, so now we have the classic Seagal, the way he runs. Why does he run this way?
Yeah, I don't know.
But he's thin, he's in shape.
He's real thin. Though. Yeah. There's not, like, he doesn't fit in with your classic action guys. He's really thin.
But he's got a slender physique. He
was the one he was married to for a while.
I can't remember.
Ellie LeBrock, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Weird Science?
he had something with her. Good for him. There is a funny sequence here I wanted. So he captures this guy, gets the information out of him about who sent him.
Buddy, you did this for fun?
Yeah.
Huh?
Jimmy Costanza.
Jimmy Costanza. If I find out you're lying, we'll come back and kill you in your own kitchen.
Salvano. Bautista Salvano.
Bautista Salvano.
The drug
That's
lord
my
sent
buddy,
him.
man.
So this guy over here, I love this. There's a guy standing at the corner, and he sees Nico, Seagal's character, you know, manhandling one of the hitmen that came in the car. And this other guy just says, hey, that's my buddy. This guy is like manhandling my buddy. I'm going to go protect my buddy. Well, I love the sequence, though. So he knocks out the attempted killer.
Hey, bulldog. Hey, why you my friend, man?
Hey, man, I'm not in the mood.
Hey, your mood, man.
Look how he swaggers.
Would it be like, homie? That was real good, man. Peace, brother.
Would it be like, homie? I love that.
He just drops that guy. The way he does that punch, I bet you if that was a real punch, he'd probably do that to him.
Probably. That And I think that was the point of that, to like display how,
to show you what
one punch.
All right, so of course there's a little sequence here of them being in bed together, and she's worried about things, and he gets a call from Fox at 2 a.m. saying, they're on to you, buddy. That's his friend that hired in the CIA. They're on to you. Be careful. Take your family. Get them out of here. All good, fair warning. Why did the cops come with search warrant to his house? Do we know?
It's because of the illegal wiretaps and the illegal policing that he's doing on his own. They are treating him like a criminal. I'm not sure they're like executing a search warrant at his house. What are they looking for?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just want to show you her little pajama shorts here.
Oh, yeah. Huh?
Sharon Stone might be one of the hottest actresses that have ever been on screen. Something about her. The blonde hair, the body, her voice.
She's got a gorgeous face.
Yeah, it is.
This is one of the scenes that I was referring to when I was talking about her acting.
It's gonna work out. Check that coat. Why don't you come and check it, asshole? Nico, come on. Take it easy, Slade. Why don't you come over and put your hands on me, Mom? Hey, get him out of here. Everything's gonna work out. Come on, I'll be back in 3 hours.
What are you looking at, Doug? I knew it.
The Police Association's got lawyers for this. You can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this guy's face. So the bartender we talked about at the beginning, where Nico walks in the bar, he's at the police station giving his statement to the police about him. But listen to what he says about how Nico did this, because I guess martial arts in American film still wasn't quite. Because I want to say at the very beginning of the film, when they show Seagal doing this, he's introducing himself to the American audiences of his fighting style. Because you have to keep in mind, Arnold wasn't doing it like this. Neither was like Mel Gibson or Bruce Willis or Stallone, of course. They didn't fight like this. So this is your first kind of American-born white guy who's 6'4". I think he's kind of showcasing, and rightfully so. Look what I can do, guys. You guys can't fight like this. I have this natural ability to fight like this, and you guys just punch. We've mentioned Sly's films, it's always that punch.
Yeah.
Okay,
and the body shot.
Yeah, I give Seagal credit. Like already, we've seen him hold a bat, hold a knife, take people's guns away, and break people's arms, and yeah. But here's that bartender at the police station. I just listen to how he describes Nico's presence in the bar.
All right, this guy in the middle of the day, he comes up in my place, he starts wrecking the place, assaulting my customers, He starts doing all this outer space kind of stuff, putting my customers in orbit even.
Putting my customers in orbit, outer space kind of stuff. Was it really that? I guess, was karate and kung fu, aikido?
Outer space kind of stuff? I don't know. I wouldn't think so, but...
Because Karate Kid was out at this point.
Yeah.
They do charge him.
Illegal wiretaps, unauthorized surveillance.
When was this guy born?
You're quite a cop, Toscani. You don't listen to anybody, do you?
Where's Jax?
She's out of this! You're the rotten apple in this barrel, Toscani. We don't need to look any farther than you and your family.
Nico!
You want to go to prison? Unlawful entry. Illegal search and seizure.
Deputy.
Again, all that is procedural kind of stuff.
What do you think they work for?
Hey, you were ordered to back off on Salvano. But I suppose you had too big a heart-on for that, didn't you?
You can't be in on this, Fred.
You're officially suspended, Toscani. Want
your
badge and your gun.
Want your badge and your gun.
Yeah.
It's always from the Black Chief, too, right? Smoking the cigar.
You gonna hold me?
You can walk for now.
Don't walk far.
Don't walk far.
So again, the stuff they busted him for, illegal search and seizure, illegal wiretaps, things like that, is like procedural stuff. Like they served a search warrant at his house. They were looking through his drawers and shit for what? They talked about his family, and they also said in the beginning of the movie that his family is connected, I guess, to the mafia in Chicago somehow. So like his uncles and like so when they said, it set him off too when he said we don't need to look any further than you and he got pissed off. That's what they were referring to.
Here's another sequence here of Nico driving his car, stops at a crosswalk with kids crossing the walk, and I love how these hitmen.
Oh man.
Okay, so these hitmen that are for hire, We've said this before in other films that we do, that their inability to just kill somebody. They got 4 machine guns on this guy's car, but let's just watch this here.
Okay, come across now. Come on, baby. Come on. Yeah, come on, kids.
Five guys with machine guns. They miss him completely, which is, typical action fair stuff. But what I love is he has his little gun, and he gets them all to freeze. Freeze, MFer.
Everybody's going to ditch their weapons, butt first.
Now watch this.
Grab the barrel and do it, everybody.
Watch what he does here. Is this legal? What he's about to do coming up here?
Yeah, I already have a note on it.
Put your hands on your head. All right, fall in behind the last man.
I don't think you can drop us off, badass.
You're right, but I'll give you for effort. All right, let's go. Fall out.
Okay, do you want to talk about what happened there, just Doug, for our listeners? So they're all unarmed at this time.
Yeah, but somehow pointing a pistol at them, he gets them all to drop automatic weapons.
Right.
5 of them. So yes, they are unarmed. They got their hands on top of their head, and this one guy approaches him and says, I don't think you could drop us all, and he shoots him right in the chest while the guy had his hands on his head.
Now, is that allowed in your police procedures?
No, that's murder. Okay, because true, a few minutes ago, before that, the guy did try to kill him, but at that time, he is unarmed and he is surrendering.
That's right.
Hands are on his head. He was, all right, so he was walking towards him, talking shit, but you don't shoot the guy for that. You can't.
Even if the guy's killed, think of the mass shooters, the ones that they do capture. Even if yes, we know that you shot 50 kids. If you drop your weapon, put your hands up in the air, we're not allowed to execute you on the spot. We're not supposed to do that.
Right.
Due process is due process. It's the country we live in.
Not according to Toscani.
So a little action sequence here. Again, go to our YouTube channel to see it. This is just basic. He takes all the other guys to a store. Why did he bring them to the store? He brought them in there to get them to be arrested.
Keep them in close quarters.
Yeah, but they end up just destroying the store.
Yeah, that's ultimately why, so they can have a fight scene inside the store.
Now, you've mentioned before in previous podcasts, you're not a big fan of the close quarter fighting. There's a few of those scenes in here.
Yeah, it makes me a little claustrophobic. I don't feel like you really get a good fight. I'm looking around my house, you know what I mean? And I imagine fighting in my dining room here wouldn't be a very good fight.
Yeah, so he kidnaps that FBI guy. He kills the FBI. Kidnaps the FBI guy to get information out of him. They go to the evidence place.
Oh, wait! Before play this dialogue here, because he said something about the FBI guy meeting up with a girl that's 15.
Freeze! Put your hands up in the air. Now go put them on the hood of the car. Special Agent Neely, what were you doing with that woman up there? Were you engaging in some kind of unnatural sex acts with that young lady? She must be 15. That's illegal in some states, you know.
What the hell are you talking about?
I thought you federal agents were straight, honorable guys. Does your wife know about this? Sex is not the only thing in life.
Can you let me know which states it's legal in, just so I can know?
None that I know of. That's insane. But the guy, he doesn't deny it or anything.
Because he had blackmail, and this guy said, you tell me what I need to know about the C4 evidence gathering, and I know somebody took it out that shouldn't have taken it out, and they find that out, that yes, it all ties together, blah, blah, blah. He held that blackmail, I'm not going to tell your wife and everyone else that you screwed a 15-year-old girl if you just come to the evidence room with me.
It's kind of just glossed over. That's insanity.
What I love about this film, too, Nico, the character Nico, he talks 5 different languages. Italian,
throughout
Spanish.
The movie? Oh, Japanese.
Yeah, Japanese. So Italian, Japanese, Spanish, and now or Korean maybe. Anyway, so he has friends in all these different places. So he has this Asian friend who waitresses during the day, and they go to some sort of Home Depot office or something where there's a computer. There's a whole 1980s, late 80s computer scene where, of course, the Asian person can hack into.
I think she worked with him in the CIA.
Yeah. Tear this whole goddamn place down in a matter of hours. There's no way to access covert operations directly, but I got a guy at Princeton. He's got a database bigger than Langley. How the hell did you get in this mess? I thought you were finished with the CIA.
You took get those old trapdoor.
So the classic classify, blah, blah, blah. They get all these dossiers and...
Also the classic hammering away at the keyboard, just click-clacking away.
And this is actually a famous part, too, or we talked about this, Craig and I, in FX, our movie review of FX. Same thing, a female girl, or of course, a female whatever, getting into the computers, and the guy sitting back and watching her work, and the early computers and internet. They didn't say internet.
Yeah.
But it's like database, you know. She's talking about a trap door, so that'd be the a different word for
way in.
Right.
Yeah. She said this guy that she knows has a database bigger than Langley.
Database. It's probably like 50 megs. It's all text. So there's the sequence. They capture the priest. It's near the end of the film. They bust him out. Zoltan's got the priest, but they bust him out. But we think Pam Grier is dead, but she's not. And he goes through this whole grieving process where he thinks she's dead. But this is the beauty of like no cell phones or texting or anything, because he's off the grid and off the wire. He has no way of knowing that she's alive. Someone could have said, "Hey, just so you know, she's alive." You know, he doesn't find out till later that she's alive, which is kind of funny, like days later.
But he was like truly happy when he found out that she survived, because she was wearing her vest.
And again, we get some photos here. This is from Pam Grier's life. These are real Pam Grier kid photos. Like, he's going through her apartment, looking at her life. I think he actually does a legit cry. I think this might be the only movie where Seagal cries in film. Right here. Tears on his face. But we find out she's alive. She's barking at the doctors.
Well.
They show a picture here. I love this. And I always love it when they do this in movies. When he's at her apartment. Right here. Okay, so we got a picture here of Nico with his wife. Anyway, she's holding the baby, but in that family photo is Jax, the partner. You know, so she's that much part of the family that she's in this family photo of some sorts that she has on her wall. So she loves
that's how you
she loves Nico's family so much that she has a picture of herself with that, you know, on her. But what I always love too about these movies is the characters in the pictures are always the same age as the characters in the film. So,
that was like 2 weeks ago.
So he's like, "Oh, I remember that photo. We went to Sears Photography last week." Does he have his own copy? Like, who paid for this? Did they arrange this? Like, it's just a whole thing, right? Oh man,
it's friggin' hilarious.
All right,
when he injects the priest, or when he sticks that needle in the priest's neck.
Yeah, they inject the priest. So they give him heroin. Was it opium or what? Make him talk or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Zagon's line delivery after that was pretty comical.
So he's injected the opium/heroin or something.
Now you're going to start feeling something warm. Very warm and wonderful. Think about it. Warm. I love it. I enjoy this. I really enjoy the shit out of this thing. I'm going to enjoy it together. You've always been alone. Now you'll be with me. Together. I don't want to enjoy it together. You've always been alone. Now you'll be with me. Together.
What, he Gollum?
I don't know. I don't know what the hell that was about.
He turned into Gollum at the end of that. I want to hear it one more time. He went to Gollum mode. I think he ran out of air when he's delivering the dialogue.
Enjoy this. I really enjoy the shit out of this thing. I'm going to enjoy it together. You've always been alone. Now you'll be with me. Together.
Gollum.
Yeah. I don't know why the hell he was like all intense about it, but
that's funny.
They end up capturing Nico, bad guys, and at the place where they were supposed to assassinate the senator.
Yeah, so they're going to assassinate the senator at some hotel. They capture Nico at the carport. They capture Nico. They have him strapped up, and they're going to inject opium into him as well to get him to tell the truth and slow him down. So that's
so they're going to try it together.
We're going to try. Yeah.
I'm going to do it just for the fun.
Away from you, that you piece of shit.
This guy gets his rocks off injecting other people with heroin.
Yeah, and he's just giving that shit away. Like that's that's valuable doses he's giving away.
Injects it into Nico, and he's like, "Yeah, you feel that kick, Jason the Dragon." It's like a reaction channel. He's watching other people react to drugs.
Yeah,
I'm watching you react to opium for the first time.
That's it. Fight it. Fight it, Jerry. Fight it. So it speeds, running its way. Fight it. Keep fighting it.
Now, how much do you think he's giving in here? Just is he faking his reaction, or is he so trained in his Aikido ways that he's able to overcome it?
Because he does snap out of it quickly, right?
Yeah, so I think he's faking that he's under a little bit more because they let him go once he rolls his eyes and relaxes.
Yeah,
they let him go. See, he rolls. Look, I'm drugged out. He may be feeling it, but he's. Do you think the character is overacting? Do you think?
It's a good point because he waits for them to like drop their guard a little bit.
Yeah, let him go.
And he springs into action.
There he goes. Sounds like the same composer of Bloodsport.
Toscani, my sleeping beauty.
Sounds
you should have killed me when you had the chance. You were dumb, you asshole.
Jake, look out!
It's fantastic. I love this.
This is the fake arm. Watch it. The mannequin hand.
Even as a kid, I thought that was the most badass thing. Like they actually showed his arm break and.
Watch it. This is a mannequin hand. It's a mannequin. And then what I love though, it's a great backwards neck break that he does here.
Oh yeah.
That's actually pretty good. I love it. Right here.
Yeah, I don't know that would break his neck particularly, but
what I love is they probably said, "Hey, we know you broke Sean Connery's wrist. When you're doing this stunt here, can you be very careful not to do what you did?"
Here, we're going to give you a mannequin hand. Break it all you want.
No, to the neck part when they did that one.
Oh, yeah. We're going to give you a mannequin head.
So anyways, the senator wants to thank Nico personally.
I just felt compelled to come and thank you personally. And to assure you that we're going to use every resource available to bring these men to justice. And to ensure that this type of behavior will never be tolerated again.
That would be nice.
Let me introduce Roberto Olspa of the Fifth Circuit.
Okay, so he goes on to reveal his, the story. It kind of goes like full circle. You could almost watch this movie on a loop, Doug, because he goes into the history of Cambodia. So it goes like around and around. Because you just put it on right on again, right here. This is like, how Rambo has his. In First Blood, he talks about Vietnam PSD, and then in Part 2, Rambo goes on to say, I want what they want. They have their little speeches, so I think Seagal's kind of tapping into that here with this 1988's Above the Law.
Yeah.
Because Stallone's exposing his feelings on the Vietnam vet. That's Stallone. With the Rambo character, that's Sly channeling his thoughts on vets and how they're treated. So this is Seagal exposing as the character Nico, but this is Seagal talking.
Whenever you have a group of individuals who are beyond any investigation, who can manipulate the press, judges, members of our Congress, you're always going to have within our government those who are above the law.
I love it. I'm kind of sad we didn't have an official podcast dedicated to Seagal workout. I really appreciate the old 90s action guys for their 90s coverage of Seagal films, but this movie in many ways is sort of heartbreaking because it showcased, to be honest, or to be fair to Seagal, he did have that career for quite a, not for quite a while, but for quite a few movies in a row. He did kill it at the box office. And Above the Law, Out for Justice, Hard to Kill, Under Siege 2 even. Those are fun films. He had a good run.
I don't remember in 97-ish, that movie Executive Decision, Kurt Russell film, which is one that we have to cover on this.
Yeah,
that is a fantastic film. But it was marketed as a Steven Seagal film. Steven Seagal and Kurt Russell together, but Seagal was out of the movie in like the first 15 minutes of it or something like that. But his name alone was marketing for that movie. And I remember drawing people. I remember people saying this is bullshit. He wasn't even in it for that long. But Seagal made a name for himself throughout the 90s.
It was was his last film. That was his last film. That made it really Fire Down Below was the last film that I saw of his in the theaters. I saw that in the theaters, and that was it.
Yeah, that movie sucked anyway.
Yeah. Ever since then, it's been straight to video. He did have a small part in Machete, if you remember.
I remember the movie Machete, but...
He was the bad guy in it, and it was so great seeing him play. It was 2010 Machete. He was the bad guy in that one. And then Mel Gibson, I believe, was the bad guy in part 2, funny enough. All right, well, there you go. I hope we did some justice to Above the Law. I mean...
I don't know that we did. But the thing is, like, we fumbled on the plot a lot because I watched it.
It's kind of confusing. I'm not going to lie to you.
It is, and I thought that I had a grasp on it, but it turns out, and that goes to show you that the plot isn't really what matters here. The stuff that we got, the stuff that we saw from Seagal, him displaying his abilities, the bad guys, unintentionally comedic moments, like it all added up to a pretty cool movie, and I enjoyed it.
I did too, and I always assume people have seen these films when we cover them, so we don't really we're not here to explain the plot. We just talk about scenes or moments or thoughts on the movie. If you're listening to the show to get the plot of the film, it's kind of weird, and you just watch the film. Right. And this is us just kind of more or less just saying, like I like doing these one-off episodes, but that's kind of why I like breaking down the films like you're doing with Rocky Man, what I do with Rambo and Rocky and myself. When you go scene by scene, you can talk about it in that order, and you give that the time these movies, not this movie, but movies can deserve or should deserve, multiple episodes, like the 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, they do that. You kind of assign 5 days, or 5 recording sessions to a film. I think it's a good way of doing it. So you kind of give it the sequence of event it deserves. You could talk about what's happening in that moment.
Yeah, they're great because they do the plot heavy analysis, but they they include all
you do 1 hour for every 20 minutes of film. That's
right. Yeah. So I mean, they do a fantastic job on it.
Yeah. Well, we suck, so that's great. Well, thanks for listening to. So maybe we're just as bad as that other Seagal podcast we had on here.
Possibly, but maybe Seagal just isn't meant to have a good podcast surrounding him.
I love this film. Watching Seagal, slender, fast-moving, acting good. He had that cockiness and assurity that he, I think, kind of overrode himself in real life, but I like what he brought to the screen. His screen presence for being on screen for the first time, he had charisma. He led the film. It was his film. I mean, bravo for a first film. Like I said, he did have 5 films in a row that were knockouts at the box office. I remember what was that?
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I forgive you. But I remember the time that he came out, Sly's star was sort of falling or fading or staggering. So was Arnold's at this time, late 80s, early 90s. Seagal was supposed to be that, but yeah.
I don't know if it was meant to be a torch passing from
it wasn't like it was competition or torch. I think what it was showing the audiences, because Seagal was never about being huge. So I think what he was showing is, I'm badass, I can kick ass, and I can move in different ways these other muscle-bound steroid guys can't. And that was the new appeal, is that he was able to be the cop and all this stuff. He was able to be the sort of everyday man that can kick ass. And I think there was a real appeal to that it wasn't like, I'm intimidating by looking at me, per se. I'm intimidating, you don't see it coming. I'm going to break your neck. It was basically like if Bruce Willis could do Aikido. That's the...
Yeah, like the everyman.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, and I appreciate you tapping me for this one. It was a good film to revisit. I haven't seen it in decades before doing this, so this was a lot of fun, man.
Totally. I totally agree. Well, thanks, Doug. Thanks so much, and thank you everyone who listened and or watched us on your YouTube channel. Thank you.